There's no space in recruitment advertising for influencers.
They want real content. They don't want the graphics and all the ads that look overly polished.
They want real, credible, authentic stuff.
If your event isn't built for social, it barely exists.
The gloves are off, the spicier the better, so let's get into it. Welcome back to Hot Takes, the show with hot topics and even hotter takes. My name is Ben Fox, Social Media Director at Blackbridge Communications, and today I'm joined by Frankie Dadzie, the Global Talent Attraction Lead at Linklaters. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Thanks for being here. So I've brought a couple of hot takes.
Yeah.
You brought two as well. So let's have a talk about it and see who comes out on top. So my first hot take is I think there's no space in recruitment advertising for influencers.
So I actually used to agree with this. Initially, I was very anti influencers being used in recruitment advertising. I really struggled to understand how can you use it as a tool for talent attraction. But my mind has changed a bit now.
Why has it changed? What do you think now?
Now I think about what is the purpose of recruitment advertising? What are we actually trying to do? We want to reach a broad range of candidates. We want to be the employer of choice. We want them to know about the opportunities that we have. And we essentially want them to work at our companies, right? And if that's what we're trying to do, you need the best reach possible. And influencers can bring that. They have their own trusted communities and they can talk about these opportunities and they can talk about the roles that are available and do a fantastic job.
They can tell you about a job opening or, an application closing date or whatever it happens to be, but they can't really tell you, is it a good place to work? Is the culture a fit? What's the career progression like? And even if they did tell you that stuff, it would all be quite performative because there's no way that they know that.
But isn't most recruitment advertising performative anyway? So actually, in a way, influencers can be more authentic because they may lose the trust of their community and their audience. And actually, they are a bit of a filter. People follow influencers because they trust their opinion. And actually, influencers are quite strict these days on what they do and don't promote. If you are using influencers to attract people to your events and actually some of your pipeline opportunities, I think that's a really great way because you're introducing people to that first touch point. I think influencers are a fantastic way to get them there in the first instance.
I think there's a place for influencers. We've tried it with a couple of clients in the past and it was successful, but it was successful as part of an integrated campaign as opposed to by itself. Our job as marketers is to try different things, right? Do different things, experiment and see what works creatively.
I definitely don't think you can do it on its own. I think it has to be just one component of what you do. Otherwise, it just won't work. It's just a different part of the funnel, essentially, right? You still need to have those kind of real life employee stories. I think it's only a matter of time before influencers make their way into employer branding. They know how to capture an audience. They know how to kind of cut through the noise and say exactly what their audience want to hear. And they do it in an authentic way.
Early talent don't actually want polished content. I think they want real, credible, authentic stuff.
I agree. I think that is exactly what they want. They want real content. They don't want, the graphics and all the ads that look overly polished, that they're being sold to, that you're kind of painting this inauthentic picture of, what they should be buying into. But I think in terms of engagement, in terms of watch rate, in terms of people actually kind of locking in and paying attention to what you're saying, if it's overly polished and too corporate, it's not going to land well.
So why do you think so many brands, when it comes to grad season, they produce these kind of really high budget hero films? They've got lots of people involved. Why do you think they aren't just going out there and saying, let's produce some quick, snappy, digestible, value-based content for younger people?
I do think it needs to be a bit of a mix. There is a place for some of that glossier content, whether that lives on your website or that lives on different platforms. But in terms of day-to-day engagement and actually getting candidates and students to engage with your brand, the stuff that's not polished does so much better.
In employer brand, people get stuck on, I have to deliver these 5 key messages and they have to all be in this piece of content, not thinking about the end user. Like, what do they want to know? What do they want to see? I think we need to get them away from that whole idea of, right, we're going to show people's daily life to actually let's go into like micro moments of how people experience things. That will sell it to the right candidate. If you can put the right things to the right person, they'll want the job and they'll stay for a long time in a simplistic way.
Polished content is just the easier content to do, right? It does take a little bit more brain power to think of something that is a bit more original, a bit different, that isn't that standard day in the life. We did actually quite a nice TikTok series. We got an ex-Africa clerk, so someone that's now working in the business where they're a trainee associate, and their principal, so they're like supervisor, and they just sat and they ate food from West Africa, and they were having really nice conversations just about their time working together. But it came across really authentically because it wasn't just people saying, I love your culture and I love your food and this is how it all goes. It was those kind of like real insights. And we actually hired people off the back of that video. I think that was the number one thing I had to say when we were joining TikTok at Linklaters. I was like to everyone, I promise you, we will not be dancing on TikTok.
How easy was that to get set up, and how effective is it working out for you at the moment?
It wasn't as hard as I think people often expect it to be. I think we're like really lucky that leadership trust what we're doing. Obviously, as a law firm, we're always going to take the kind of more cautious approach to how we use TikTok. But I think there's so many great ways that you can kind of showcase content on TikTok in a way that you wouldn't really put on Instagram.
I think the first port of call with any content should be, what value can we offer to the audience? And then that polished content can come after. And
actually, I find that, law students quite like sometimes that polished content because it makes them feel like, yes, I'm going to a kind of a serious company and a serious career, but I am seeing that shift. We're seeing it from engagement rates. We're seeing it from how people are actually showing up and applications and actually engaging with the brand on different levels. So one of my hot takes is that actually some of the best careers events don't feel like careers events at all, because top talent aren't just in the library. They are the same places that all other people of their age are. And actually there's a really clever thing that you can do here around, spotting different trends and what are young people interested in and meeting them where they are, right? And actually you can build really authentic conversations in some really nice informal environments, whether that's Pilates or paddle or run clubs.
I knew you were going to say paddle. Yeah.
Because that's what people love at the moment. It's trending. It's everywhere. No one's expecting a law firm to do something like that for students. It's showing our investment in them from a really kind of early touch point. And they're having really kind of genuine conversations with our people. Why would we not try and meet them where they're at? And actually we're finding that the questions that people are asking are a bit deeper than what they would maybe ask at a standard careers event.
I see what you're doing about getting into the kind of zeitgeist of people's minds, like people like paddle, people like Pilates, let's go there, let's involve ourselves. And I think our jobs as marketers is to do that, right? We've got to use our creativity and our differentiation. We can't just keep doing the same things forever. Like, how far do you think you can infiltrate people's lives in that way?
I think it can probably keep growing. I think the impact of something like that is so interesting. And I think especially for law, where it's such a high performance environment and we are looking for a certain type of kind of character and person, actually it really aligns with some of these high performance sports as well. Yeah, we have one student, Charlie, he did a video on TikTok about the Run Club, and he put, what was the caption? He said, anything for that damn training contract. And we saw it in the office and we were laughing so much, but it got 40,000 views pretty much instantly, right? So actually, if you can get people in that sort of environment where you kind of get that initial interest from them and they like what they're hearing about the work, they will then take that next step to find out even more about what you do and actually is it for them. It's that talkability point. Just from that one activation, the amount of people that are now talking about Linklaters, know the brand, that may not have known the brand or do know the brand and want to find out more or are more interested in kind of, why are you doing these things? That's what you can't get from other things.
I think what you've done as well quite intelligently is you've humanized people, and you've kind of, I like the comparison as well of the psychology between if you're, sort of disciplined enough to go to paddle every week and put in your best and try hardest and get better, that does have a lot of similarities with the workplace. So yeah, that to me, that makes loads of sense in terms of what you've done. And it feels different as well. It feels different to what others in the market are doing.
If your event isn't built for social, it barely exists. An event is a one-off activation, right? You might have 50 people in the room. If for whatever reason those aren't the right 50 people, or they don't convert, or they don't get through your process, that's it. That's the end of the activation, essentially. Every event now has to be looked at as a bit of a campaign to really ensure that they're engaging with your brand at multiple touch points. I think there's clever ways that you can bring social into events to make it a longer lasting campaign. Using tools that are on Instagram and TikTok and different platforms, not for the use that they were intended for. So close friends feature on Instagram, it could actually be a VIP talent pool. And it's a really great way to engage people and get them excited about your event before it's even started. So we had a huge event that we did, over 1,000 people involved. So we had 800 students, we had about 250 lawyers part of it, called Discovering Linklaters. On the day, there were different kind of social elements for people to get involved with, whether that were kind of like Vox Pop quizzes with some of the stalls. We also, there's a lot around kind of elevator pitches and how students present themselves. So we locked off one of the lifts and we decorated the inside and we had a bellboy and we created this activation. We would put the very best ones on TikTok. Whatever got the most views and likes won the competition. And actually that was a really great way to engage not only people at the event to get involved in an activation and kind of, build some skills and learn how to create an elevator pitch, but also we had loads of people watch those videos online. We worked with loads of different societies on creating content. Then we had all the content from the event, the different Vox Pops, and then post-event, that was still going on as a bit of a competition. And we had thousands of views for that series.
I like what you talked about in terms of employability. It's not just about if you work here, you get all the value and all the gold. Even if you don't end up working here, you're going to take something away. And I think that's such a nice push into the legal industry. Like, you're giving people a piece of information. You guys are obviously one of the biggest law firms around. It's good that you give back in that way, because I'm not sure others would. Quite intelligently, some of those people that don't get the job now because they're not right, they might then flourish 5 years later and come back to you as an employee, and they might not have done that had you not thought, actually, let's develop some of those skills and help them out now. It takes students down that road of they have to show a level of interest. So yes, I want to be a close friend, or yes, I want to follow you, or yes, I want to be seeing this content. It's all a nice way of them showing, yes, I'm interested, beyond just going, oh, I'll apply when it's open and see what happens. You're delivering a lot to students that you don't have to, but you do it because it's probably the right thing to do, but also it will benefit you down the line. Events aren't being made for social. Events are being publicised on social. It'll be interesting to see how events kind of evolve, because at the moment it still feels like people are a little bit scared. They want everything to be very exclusive to the people that attended, and the people that didn't attend can't see anything. But actually there's a bridge there that needs to be opened.
Once people really get mixing events and social right, that's when you really start to see results.
Well, thanks very much for joining us. Appreciate you bringing your takes, your enthusiasm. Scores will be on the screen now. Thank you so much for listening. I've been Ben Fox. This is Frankie Dadzie, and we'll see you next time.